Yes, yes. When the Band-Aid comes off, the truth comes out. Now this one I'm going to shoot right off, even take the glasses off for this one. Not prepared, not scripted, just, I guess, coming out of my subconscious will be this chat with you people. And this chat is going to go, specifically to American Jews, really all Jews that are in the exile, but American Jews because I'm from America, so in particular, and allegedly half of the world's population of Jews is in America. You're living in a Holocaust right now, and it's a Holocaust worse than Germany. Worse than all those pictures you see and all those monuments and Yad Vashem and the National Holocaust Museum. The Holocaust that you're living in now, it's not a physical one, which is okay because once your body is burned or you're starved and you have that suffering, it's transient, that suffering. Okay, even if it's you're starved over a week or like no water or a month, no food, or you work to death. You were killed in Europe because you were a Jew. And there's a certain credit. I don't know specifically how HaShem works. He doesn't have the phone here. Can't get it, pull it all the way out there, but I have a phone. He hasn't called me. I have cell phone too. Here, cell phone. Actually, I have a couple of them. He hasn't rang me up or even texted me, WhatsApped me, Facebooked me, Twittered me. Nothing. But I know that on a cosmic scale, from what I've learned, and I've been now like Orthodox for like 20 years, since 1995. It's February now of 2016. So really officially like June of 1995. So okay, 20 years, a little. But what I've learned is that the Holocaust that you all are going through in the States is worse because you are giving up your Judaism. You're giving up your soul. You are willingly giving up your soul. Doing things that the Germans couldn't do to the 6 million of blessed memory, and may their blood be avenged, and it will be avenged. Europe will be a crater at some point. Especially the areas, of the concentration camps and stuff like that. I mean, how could it not be? And again, HaShem didn't come to me and tell me these things, but just, cosmically, halakhically, karmically, how could it not be? So, but let's look at America. I mean, I grew up in America. I grew up Reform. I went to some lame Hebrew school that taught me like Abba, Ima, Shalom, Aleph, Bet, Gimel. I didn't even learn Echad, Shtayim, Shalosh. I had to learn that here in Israel, and I can't even speak Hebrew. I've been living in Israel for 5 years, and because I came here and had to work, I didn't have no, pocket full of cash. I literally got off the plane and worked, illegally in the Merkaz Klita. I mean, I'm legal. I immediately got my Tudat Zehut. I'm legal to work in Israel, but the Merkaz Klita, you're not supposed to conduct business there, but I work on the telephone. So the internet's a beautiful thing, folks. I mean, you can make money through the internet doing many things, and I would suggest you do that, or I suggest you do unlike I did. And when you get to Israel, you actually sit and you learn. They give you can 5 months, 5 days a week for 5 months. You are in a pretty intensive Opan, and if you can just have a 2, 3 people, 4 people that are with you in that Opan, and you really just after the Opan, you spend the 5 hours in the Opan, then 5 hours after the Opan, and you do nothing but speak Hebrew, learn your Hebrew, go over your Hebrew. You'll learn it. I can guarantee you'll learn it. And even if you have to take the Opan again or take some private lessons, and as in affiliation or whatever. I'm trying to think of the word, but in conjunction with your Opan, you should do it, because we learned that in both of the exiles, that in the Egyptian exile, when we came out of that, only 20% of the Jews came out. And you can see in America that it's almost 80% of the Jews assimilating. I think now it's 60% of Jews are assimilating. 60%? So maybe that's it. Maybe God will wait until that 80% mark is hit, which can't be that far off. And then, he'll ingather the 20% that are still Jewish. Because they're, unless your mother is Jewish, or unless you go through an Orthodox conversion, you're not Jewish. I have a son that's not Jewish. Although my parents will say, "Oh, you're Jewish," because of their distorted view of Judaism, which is not true. It's not true. And I honor my mother and father, as best as I can. I try to, but you can only honor them until they break Torah. Everything is based upon Torah and God's values. So once anything or anyone or just anything goes against the Torah, then you have to default to the Torah. So like the IDF in this country, when they do things that are anti-Torah, you can't follow orders. The orders must be broken. And that even goes back to, King David's army, which King David, of course, I would do his best not to make orders that, would break Torah. But I'm just saying, if King David did that, King Saul apparently must have done that. It was before King David, because he went after King David, and before he was the king. But the spiritual, let's get back to the Holocaust. You are in a spiritual Holocaust. You are losing your soul. You are willingly, listen to what I'm telling you, you're willingly giving up your soul. Willingly giving up your soul. And that is a bigger tragedy. It's like the proverbial, frog in the pot, where you just turn up the water, you turn up the heat, and the water gets hotter, and the frog, doesn't realize, he thinks he's in a, cool bath, and then in a warm bath, and then before he realizes it, he's boiled to death. And that's what's happening to you, my American Jewish friends. You are killing your soul. You're negating your soul. That's why it says when you break the Sabbath, HaShem will cut you off from your people. That's what he means. He means your soul will be cut off. Okay? You could physically live. And you might even live like a king. Have everything you want in this wonderful exile. Have the cars, multiple cars, houses, multiple houses, jet, yacht, all these wonderful things. Okay? Material things. But at the end of the day, you probably won't have as much here in Israel. I can assure you I don't. It's been a struggle since I've got off the plane. I thought I would be married. I figured I'm in a country full of Jewish women. I've been here for 5 years. Nothing. I've dated, a lot of women, but I guess maybe my opinions are a little harsh. But there are, people that share my opinions, but what happens in Israel is when you're young and you're observant, you get married, and you don't live like Americans where you're married, 2, 3, 5 times. You're married once, and hopefully that marriage is the first person you've ever known. And then you don't know anywhere, and you don't know anything else. Then, the love that you have between each other, that intimacy you share has not been watered down. It has not been distorted by other intimacies that you would have had. It's not distorted by things you might see on the internet or books, you might have, seen or read in that show other people in compromising situations. And these things poison your mind. My mind was poisoned. I tried to get the poison out of it, but it was poisoned, and it is poisoned. And as much as I try to get out the poison I lived through, I can only suggest that you get to Israel as soon as possible, and you live in a community that doesn't share these Hellenistic values, and there are plenty of communities in this country that share these values. There is a major attack on Judaism in this country right now, and that's why I'm asking you people to come here and try to do your best to not have these Western values, because there are, people that, I mean, first of all, women. Let's talk to you women for a second, okay? You're on a higher level than men, okay? A higher level. God has given you the ability to create life inside of your womb. We don't get that. We don't get that ability. Gave it to you, ladies. You, okay? You're spiritual beings. You're connected on a much higher level than men are. Okay, that's why in our prayers where it says, that God didn't make me a woman, it's only so we can fulfill mitzvahs. But you say that God made me in you made me in your image. That's what a woman says, in your image. So you don't need to put on tefillin. You don't need to dance by the kotel, which is a joke to me. The kotel is a joke. It's a galut mentality. You all need to wake up and understand that the Temple Mount is really where the reality is. Okay, we need to be able to go up on the Temple Mount. And there are areas where, on the Temple Mount, that Herod built, not Solomon, Herod. We know where those areas are. They are not part of the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies is basically under the Dome of the Rock. That's where the rock is, what they call it, a rock, Dome of the Rock. But that being said, you don't need to dance by the kotel with a Torah. You don't need to put on tefillin. And now, they just passed the law here where Reform and conservative Jews, conversions, they have to be allowed into a mikveh, into Orthodox mikvahs. Reform and conservative conversions are now, in essence, recognized here in Israel. This is we're bringing the exile that I left. I wanted to leave it. I didn't want to be in America anymore. I'm a dual citizen, yes, and I'm not giving up my citizenship because my family's there. I'm not going to run away from Israel if there's ever a war here. My family's there. I conduct business there. I am going to have a citizenship there. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in the USA. I am a citizen of the USA. I was born there, unlike some other people that we can name. The bottom line is that let's not bring the exile here. Let's not bring Hellenistic values. Let's make Israel the pure place. If you want to be a Hellenist and you can't observe the Sabbath and you can't honor your parents and you can't eat kosher and you can't have the yoke of heaven on your shoulders, the yoke, it's a yoke, okay, the yoke of heaven on your shoulders, then I guess stay there and die in the exile. Live the spiritual, die spiritually. Let your soul shrink. Your soul will shrink. It'll shrink like that. Just shrink down and go. Do you really want that? Or do you want your soul to be big and your neshama to burst forth with light and connection to God? Now, since I'm winding down to the end of this thing, Rabbi Kahana brought down about 3 oaths. They say, even these Orthodox Jews, okay, and Orthodox Jews are living in the exile, thinking that they have to wait for Moshiach's going to come on a magic mouse pad. He's going to come. He's going to take you on your mouse pad, folks. Yay, we're going to Israel now. Yay, on our mouse pad. Okay. That's my magic carpet, okay? The 3 oaths. The 3 oaths have been broken by the nations. They are no longer valid. Israel had to uphold, allegedly, these 3 oaths, and I can go over that in another book, in another video. There's the book on my shelf there where Rabbi Kahana talks about it, but the 3 oaths have been broken. The nations broke them. So we don't have to uphold these oaths. We can come home and we can live as God intended us to live, as a Jewish people, in our one little country, our one little land. And I welcome you here. I'll come meet you at the airplane.